Yo, what's up, guys? In this video, we're going to be watching this by Every Damn Day Fitness, Greg Doucette. Greg Doucette, snitchy or not, 2 ways to prove he is or is not. So those of you who don't know, Greg Doucette has recently become the center of attention yet again, as if his rapid rise to fame was not enough. He's been recently smeared, I guess you could say, by Tiger Fitness and Chris Jones from Beast Mode Fitness, who said he was a snitch, that he, snitched on his supplier for steroids 8 years ago when he got caught and charged with intent to distribute, and that's why he got off with a light sentence of a fine and house arrest instead of doing any time in prison. Greg has since come out and said that is not true, and been like, who are these people that I snitched on? Who's in jail because of me? There is nobody apparently, so seems like false accusations. Anyway, Every Damn Day Fitness is weighing in on this as well.
I made YouTube videos.
And we are going to watch it right now. Have I watched this a little bit? Looks like. So let's see here. All right, so here we go. If you guys have any questions on any of this stuff, let me know. Leave me a comment.
My name is Alan Roberts. This is Every Damn Day Fitness. This is going to be a short video, probably not the one video that people want to see on this subject, but I don't care too much fucking about it. So here we go. I was wildly entertained this morning doing my yoga warm-up before I start lifting, watching videos of people claiming Greg Doucette is a snitch and a bunch of other things I really don't give a fuck about. But the funniest video I've seen all day, probably in a while,
The problem with these videos is they were based on lies.
is the video where Greg Doucette tries to chin check people by threatening defamation suits against them and stuff.
So you can't just make up a lie and post it about somebody because it's a lie. It's illegal. You can't actually do that, okay? It's not legal. So what these people did is they made up a lie and made YouTube videos about it. Now, the difference between what they're doing and what I'm doing is I'm not making up lies. And you're allowed to say what you think.
That shit, to whoever writes Greg's scripts, to whoever runs Greg's channel, to whoever has convinced Greg to play this character, that was hilarious. That was comedy that writes itself. A person who literally, this is not meant to be insulting, but nobody gave a shit about Greg Doucette before he started doing Natty or Not videos. Nobody gave a shit. He's been on YouTube forever, playing a different character, otherwise known as himself. But nobody really gave a shit. So he starts doing these Natty or Not videos, of which he accuses people of using illegal drugs, lying to their audience for their own profiting, and then tells people, don't call me a snitch because it's defamation. That shit was funny on levels I can't even get past. I thank you to Greg Doucette's handlers. Now, this is an easy solve, though. This is an easy solve.
All right. So before he gets into that, if any of you have ever seen, and I'm assuming most of you have if you're watching this video, if you've ever seen any of Greg Doucette's Natty or Not videos, he does approach it fairly seriously. He doesn't just say oh, look at the way this guy looks right now. Yeah, he's probably on gear. End of video. He basically researches them, looks through all of their pictures and videos, anything he can find, tracks their progress to see what their baseline level of genetics, I guess, is, and tracks their progress over the years to see if it's a reasonable amount of progress for a natural. Greg does have a lot of experience with weightlifting as a natural as well, with really good genetics. So you could say that he is qualified to talk about that. Maybe he does get a little too flip with not choosing his language as carefully as he could. Right? So for example, let's say you take somebody like Thomas DeLauer, right? Who is looking pretty saucy, for sure, 100%. I seem to remember when I watched his Natty or Not video on Thomas DeLauer where he's like, yeah, it's Thomas DeLauer Natty, blah, 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 and kind of went over his past pictures briefly. And within the first couple minutes, he was like, yeah, of course he's on something. If you can't see that, you're a fucking idiot. If you guys actually think this guy's natural, you're retarded. What the fuck is wrong with you? So maybe got a little bit lazy with the level of research, right? To compare, let's say you compare it to the way More Plates, More Dates does his Natty or Nots. He is much more analytical and takes the whole I'm going to look at this guy's pictures and his history and his training regimen and the whole like current situation with whatever industry he's in, whether it's the film industry or mixed martial arts. He does a lot of MMA guys. He's much more thorough and much more analytical, as if he was preparing like a report for school, really, is kind of the vibe that I get. But a really good report. This guy's like a straight A student. Whereas Greg is just like, he's like kind of standing up and doing his comedy routine mixed with the report, right? So you could make the argument that like the language needs to be tightened up a little bit to stay more impartial when you're doing a natty or not video. But that said, you could also say that he's just stating his opinion as to, you know, he's not just making shit up, right? He's not like just picking some random person and he's like, this guy fucking sells guns and like, you know, raped his sister and he's in fucking Al Qaeda. Like, you're not just making up random shit, right? It's like you look at the guy, maybe he doesn't do it in as scientific a way that he should, right? If we want to like set boundaries for the way a natty or not should be done, okay, that's something people want to fucking work on. But he's just like getting up and saying, this is what the guy looked like before. This is what he looks like now. Look at how he looks. Like, do you really think it's possible to build that kind of physique without steroids? Most of the time it's no, really. Most of the time it's no. You know, I can think of a handful of guys where he's like, oh, actually, yeah, this guy is natty. And the dude is like fucking gigantic, like freakishly big. It's not very common. It's the exception, really. 1 in 100, they're actually natty. And you're surprised when they are. I'm not an expert on it by any means. Definitely not as much as Greg or Derek from More Plates, More Dates. But I do trust that they are right most of the time. I could be wrong. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. But to say that the way that he is being attacked by Chris Jones and Tiger Fitness, where they are, I mean, are they just, is it the same? I guess it's similar in that they're just kind of inferring that he snitched on someone because they didn't see, you know, he didn't do any time. But this isn't taking into account the drug laws in Canada and the legal system in Canada, which is much more forgiving than the United States. And even honestly, to tell you the truth, I think if you, let's say you're in the United States and you get caught with, you know, $250,000 worth of steroids, like clearly intent to distribute charge on that. If you're a first-time offender, if you're otherwise a respectable citizen, in terms of like you're a first-time offender, you don't have any prior records, you have a real job, you have a family, you know, you don't have any like legal issues other than that, you pay your taxes, you know, you have a college degree, right? You're like a normal functioning person in society. You just happen to you know, inject steroids for your own personal gain, and you also sell them to other people, which is like gray area ethically, I guess. I personally don't think there's anything wrong with it, but you know, the government is not exactly as progressive as, you know, the media would want you to believe. Anyway, I don't think it's the same, is the point. I don't think it's fair to just make shit up and not back it up with any sort of evidence at all. When, I guess at least in Greg's defense, he does seem to be backing it up with some evidence in the form of like pictures. Here's what he looked like at 19. Here's what he looked like at 22. And then boom, all of a sudden he blew up at 25 and he's looking like freakishly big unexpectedly, you know? Anyway, let's get into the rest of it.
All that shit aside, there's people accusing Greg Doucette of being a snitch. Nobody's proven. Greg Doucette is claiming he's not a snitch. He can't prove it because Greg Doucette, and this is not a mark against him or anything like that. This is not me like trying to insult him. This is just factual. 2-minute Google search. Greg Doucette is a liar and a cheat. Greg Doucette has had records stripped from him for cheating on for failing drug tests, but currently serving some ban in some fucking cycling thing for, you know, drug test shit. And
Things began to unravel when CBSA officers intercepted packages destined for one of Eggleston's associates, Greg Doucette, a bodybuilder in Halifax. Authorities raided his home, storage locker, and car in August 2012 and seized $250,000 in steroids and thousands in cash. He was later fined $50,000 and given a 20-month conditional sentence for smuggling and distribution. Doucette had turned to steroids in order to, quote, fulfill his ambitions and dreams and obtain product endorsements, according to a sentence hearing transcript. The investigation led authorities to Eggleston's Winnipeg home in November 2012. Search warrant documents show that as agents approached, he tossed a BlackBerry phone into a koi pond. Authorities recovered the phone and seized 6 others along with a stash of steroids and, quote, score sheets. Despite this scrutiny from authorities, the underground operation continued.
Very clearly, Greg Doucette has lied and cheated for a living for a good portion of his adult life. I mean, it is what it is. Okay, he was in a smuggling.
The CBSA investigation revealed that Doucette was part of a network of individuals in multiple cities across the country involved in smuggling, consolidating production, and distribution of anabolic steroids, which has led to other related investigations in Canada. Doucette admitted to smuggling and trafficking steroids for over a year and a half period.
Ring, whether he snitched or not, that's what I'm talking about. But the fact that he was a liar, cheater, stuff like that, that is factual.
All right, so that's like, you can say technically that anybody's a liar. I can say that Alan, what's his name? Alan Roberts. Alan Roberts is a liar. He's a liar because everybody's a fucking liar. Everybody lies. He's never told a lie. There's somebody out there's never told a lie. Somebody out there who's never cheated, really, on anything? He's never cheated. Alan Roberts is a liar and a cheater, right? The whole thing about the cycling race, as far as I knew with the cycling race, in the cycling league or whatever it was, Greg's talked about this. He either didn't know or it wasn't clearly stated that you were not allowed to use performance-enhancing drugs in whatever series of races that was. Like, he cycled regularly, he was always fucking cycling, he's doing all these races, and either he and they're for fun. They're not like to win any money or anything. And the dude's a 200-pound bodybuilder. You know what I mean? That's not exactly like the ideal. You're not. That's not the ideal body type that you want to fucking win a cycle race, really. Period. End of story. 200 pounds on a fucking bicycle at 5'6". It's not like he was like Lance Armstronging it and doing steroids to fucking cheat and win the race and become a professional cyclist. He's doing it for fun. He either didn't know or it was not clearly stated that like this specific cycle race, you're not allowed to be on steroids. And fine, let's say he did know. Let's say he knew. And he was like, you know what? They said you're not allowed to be on steroids, but it's just for fun. Fuck it. I'm going to do it anyway. And if they kick me out, they kick me out. Fuck it. Right? There's no, there's no money there, I guess. Is it still ethically wrong? Yeah. Okay. You could make that argument. Sure. But does that mean that when he got arrested by the fucking Canadian DEA that he snitched on people? No. So you can't look at that and say he's a liar because he entered a bike race while he was on steroids. Maybe he knew you weren't allowed to be on them, and maybe he didn't. But because he did it, that means that it's possible that he snitched on people in his court case. I don't know. That doesn't seem like a very strong argument to me. I could be wrong. Alan Roberts does have a little bit of a high and mighty vibe, a little bit. I've seen some of his other videos. People used to ask me to do reactions to some of his like healthy at every size reactions and Tess Holiday reactions. And what's his name? Tyrone the fitness guy or some shit. The like really jacked Canadian black guy who's, I don't want to say retarded because he might actually be retarded, but like he's just kind of dumb. You know what I mean? He did videos on him and he's just got this very like holier than thou vibe. So not surprised that he is like latching onto that one little thing that Greg's talked about himself. It's not like he's trying to hide it. And saying like, oh, you see that? He cheated in this bike race and they banned him from fucking cycling. Canadia's like, intermediate cycling amateur league. Like, so therefore it's more likely that he snitched on people. I don't know. That seems a little spurious, It's not. And again, I'm not saying. Is it possible Greg snitched on people? Yeah, it's possible. Is it possible he didn't snitch on them and he went and just fucking killed them and chopped their body up into little pieces and fed it to his pet fucking pig? The guy has a pet pig. He's got a bunch of animals. It's possible he did that too. It's possible. There's no evidence. Maybe people disappeared. Who knows? I really hope that's not the case and I didn't just fucking start a new investigation, but. what it said right here, blah, 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 this has led to other related investigations across Canada. That also, you know, that's not damning evidence. You know what I mean? That's not like, oh, well, this investigation led to other investigations, therefore that means that Greg snitched. No. Like, what's the guy's name? What's the guy's name who's in jail? Who did he snitch on? Who is it? Who's the guy? You know? Well, no answer for that? Oh, but he cheated in a bike race. Like, okay. You know, what's the guy's name who's in jail?
Get there. So by Greg's own words, we can't believe anything he says. Now, since the people that are accusing him of being a snitch don't really have proof yet, and Greg Doucette can't be believed because he's a lying, cheating person, anyway, we should actually just ask the people he supposedly snitched on. You see, if we actually go to them and say, hey, did he snitch on you? If he didn't, they're probably still good friends. And
what does it say? That is, I can't fucking see that.
they're like, no, what the fuck are you talking about? But if he did, they might not be too happy. The other recourse...
Authorities, I can't fucking read what that first part says. Something significant problem that we're aware of, said Paul Melia, president and CEO of the CCES, recalling the doping scandals several years ago that led to a 1-year suspension of the University of Waterloo's football team. Part of the problem, Melia said, is that people are using steroids not just to improve performance, but also their body image. Authorities allege that Srivastava of Saanich, British Columbia, and Jason Eggleston, a bodybuilder in Winnipeg, helped feed that demand from 2009 to 2014 by leading a lucrative operation. So again, like I already mentioned, like does it mean that we can never, like, what's the issue is that you are choosing one isolated incident of Greg being banned from some cycling league from, if you listen to the way that he explains it, I'm not sure if he said that he didn't know you were not allowed to dope, or if it was just like a fun race or something like that. There's no prize money. It's just like, it's not professional cyclists like who are getting sponsored or anything, as far as I'm aware, right? I guess he just assumed that you can't be on steroids when you're doing it, right? I would think the same thing. But anyway, whether or not we accept that to be true, you can't look at that one single incident of him being banned from a cycle race for using steroids and him selling steroids illegally, which is, sure, illegal. Is it unethical? I would say that it's not necessarily unethical to sell fucking steroids to people who want to buy them. I don't think that is unethical at all. I think that is perfectly fine ethically. I don't think there's an ethical issue with providing fucking synthetic or bioidentical hormones to people who want to use them for their own personal use. I do not think there is an ethical issue there. He's not running cocaine for the cartels. The money that he is making and giving to other people is probably going to some fucking Chinese lab somewhere, really, some fucking Chinese office worker, business owner. Are Chinese people perfect? No. But they're not cartels chopping people up into little pieces and fucking ripping their arms off and letting dogs eat them alive and burying them alive and shit. That would be bad. If it was like Greg Doucette was a cocaine kingpin and fucking had a pet tiger, I'd be like, all right, maybe this guy's a little fucked up. But you can't look at that one, like you look at that one incidence of him being banned from a fucking amateur cycling circuit and getting caught for selling bioidentical or synthetic hormones to people, like adults who willingly want to purchase them. Which, like I've said, there's no ethical issue there, in my opinion. You can't look at that against the hundreds of videos that the guy has created, clearly showing his character, clearly showing, in my opinion, that he's a good person, mostly honest, as much as anybody else can be honest, willing to admit when he's wrong, and, overall good for the fitness industry, good for the fucking meta of YouTube altogether. Good for America, really. And what's he saying now? Like, let's just go ask Jason Eggleston to see if Greg snitched. Well, that's not proof. That's not proof to say, oh yeah, he did snitch. Well, what's the guy's fucking name? Who is he in jail? Right? Like, what's the guy's name who's in jail? Who snitched? And I guess even then, is that really proof? How would you actually prove that? Court documents, maybe? I don't know.
Other recourses, what I think is going to be the funner one, Like if somebody were to look into the camera and say, hey, Greg, I'm talking to you. I think, in my opinion, of course, you are a cheating, lying snitch, and I look forward to seeing you in court. I think that would be pretty cool if somebody just looked right to the camera and said, "Hey, Greg, I think you're a cheating, lying ass snitch." And then he actually tries to file suit against you, so you can then subpoena all the records from everything that he's ever done, and then release them publicly. That would be awesome. Because threatening to sue people for defamation when you're a Natty or Not channel, again, comedy on a level I can't even comprehend. But this would solve it for a lot of people. Those two things. Either we actually see the records, the plea deals or whatever, because you cannot tell me that Greg Doucette got caught with $250,000 in steroids with cash on him, over country lines, all sorts of stuff, with like pill press machines and all sorts of stuff, and there was no plea bargain. Now, I don't believe that. I could be wrong. Greg could prove it. Greg could release. We could release all the court records. If somebody was really, really smart, they would check out the Canada laws and see what we could get just on a public record search. This could help Greg or hurt Greg. I'm not trying to help him or hurt him. I'm just saying that instead of going back and forth with all this ridiculousness, why don't we just take the next step and find out? That's all I'm saying. That's just my 2 cents. I hope everybody has a great day. You guys have been wildly entertaining with this shit. Goddamn.
What a tool.
I don't believe that.
Alan Roberts clearly does not like Greg Doucette. I wonder why. Nobody likes Greg Doucette, huh? Why doesn't he like him? I feel like this guy doesn't like anybody, though. So let's see. Greg Doucette sues somebody for defamation. All the court records get subpoenaed. And then it either comes out that Greg snitched on somebody or he didn't, if it gets released to the public. I guess that would be fair, really. But why would you take it that far, really? Why, like, for what purpose, really? Like, what do you have to gain? What do you have to gain or lose, really? I don't really see that there's much to gain. And I guess there is a lot to lose, potentially. But yeah, I mean, now that I think about it, if you really want to sue somebody, like let's think about it like this, right? Let's say, what do you have to gain from suing somebody for defamation? You sue them for millions of dollars or something? Do these fitness YouTubers have millions of dollars? Can you sue somebody from Canada to the United States? I guess you could. That is, I guess, a way to prove that he did or didn't snitch. And okay, so I know what I was going to say. Like I said earlier, the drug laws are different from country to country. You can get caught with tens of thousands of dollars in cash, $250,000 street value. Okay, street value of steroids, right? I can buy, for example, if I have a vial here of, let's see, how much would that be? 250 milligrams per milliliter. So 2.5 grams, right, of testosterone. Street value is $70, right, for 2.5 grams of testosterone. You can buy that for about 10% of the price, right? So the street value of something is not what you paid for it. You know what I mean? It's not like, and that's like anybody who's ever sold weed back before, when you actually could sell weed, it's kind of the same thing, right? Like if you have an ounce or something, or a QP or something like that, yeah, if you sell it 1 gram at a time, it's worth, I don't know, what's an ounce? Fucking $20. Is that like, that's almost $600 worth of weed, right? But you probably paid $250 for that ounce. You know what I mean? So that's like the breakdown right there. So that's number one, right? Number two, like I said, the drug laws in countries are different. And if you are a first-time offender in a very liberal country like Canada, selling a non-addictive, non-narcotic drug that, yeah, happens to be scheduled, but that's something that people in the United States do not seem to understand. Alan Roberts here does not seem to have any desire to understand anything. He just likes to be angry. He's like, well, what can I be pissed off about today? I'll show him like a tough guy. Oh, I'm pissed off about this thing, snitch and a liar. does not seem to like want to understand that at all. Also does not seem very familiar with the legal system. And like I said, does not seem to have any desire to learn about any of this stuff before making a 4-minute video. Although I will say that his point about letting Greg sue you or suing him and then subpoenaing all the court records and releasing them, that is pretty clever. I will give him that. But it's like, how far do you actually want to take that? Like, what do you have to gain? Let's say Greg is 100% right and he didn't snitch, and there is some way to prove that in court by subpoenaing all these records and fucking, let's say he wins the case. What is he going to get? He's going to bankrupt these fucking YouTubers? Like, do these guys even have any money? I guess they do, but you know, it's much easier, I guess, to just like be done with it, you know? I think it probably was a mistake. He didn't technically threaten to sue him for defamation. He's just bringing up the fact that what they were doing was defamation, right? You can assault me. If you come at me and try and fucking punch me, I'm going to say that's assault. You're assaulting me. It doesn't mean that I'm necessarily threatening to sue you for assault. But it is technically the crime that you are committing is assault. And I could, I guess, sue you if I wanted to, if I really cared that much. Anyway, this shit is getting really out of control really quickly. Apparently, there's a lot of hate towards Greg Doucette by a lot of these fairly decent-sized YouTubers who I honestly can't help think that they are just jealous of how quickly he is becoming extremely popular, something that they have not been able to do, you know, for their entire like tenure on YouTube. Is it all because he's just doing natty or not videos and dropping bombs on these people who have been lying about their natural status for their entire career? Yeah. And honestly, I think it's a good thing. I think the fact that he's catching heat for it from these YouTubers, I don't think that's bad at all. And I think, honestly, Greg, if you ever watch this, keep doing your fucking natty or not videos, bro. Keep doing them. Keep peeling back the fucking curtain. Keep showing people that the fitness industry is fucking bullshit. And if people are on fucking steroids, call them out. Say they're on fucking steroids. Do the videos a little bit better. Tighten up the language a little bit, so that they can't come after you and say, "Oh, well, you're accusing me of this, accusing me of that." You could just say, "Well, actually, based on this photo, it seems to me, if I had to bet, just couch it in language that protects you, I guess, and don't get lazy with it in terms of the language." Okay, so that is my video on this. I guess final summary. Alan Roberts just doing his little part to express some anger and instigate and show that he's, the good old Alan Roberts that we know and love, being tough and being angry. Good idea, though, about the subpoenaing the court records. Will it actually come to that? I honestly don't think that there is enough to gain from either side. It just doesn't seem worth it. But hey, if it does happen, I guess I'll have a lot of interesting videos to make. What do you guys think about that? Where do you stand on this whole YouTube drama nonsense? Let me know. Leave me a comment. Peace.